punk, jazz fusion, and a natural hate for the government.
Professor Utonium accidentally added an extra ingredient to the concoction.
Saxophone. All these ingredients combined make for Maruja. At least that's how I think it's called, so I'm sorry if my pronunciation is wrong, always. Hello, you're with me, Icy Snaps, and today we are diving into the noise, the myth, the mayhem of Maruja. From the underground basements of Manchester, one of the UK's other great cities, Maruja have been bubbling up as one of the UK's most exciting experimental bands. They're not your typical post-punk band either. It's a band that throws saxophone, noise rock, jazz fusion into this really yummy cake. Really bad analogy. Slather that up with some juicy protest lyrics, heavy melodies, and then you have the energy of something that feels slightly cathartic as well as it does unnerving. They've been building their reputation with a string of EPs, but it is time now for their debut album, Pain to Power. And the question really is, can they translate that live intensity into a record that really hits? Or does the chaos kind of collapse under its own weight? If you are alive right now, I think it's fucking plain to see how messed up everything is. This album is the pent-up frustration of this world at the moment. A comment on what we should all be feeling. Bloodsport, the first track on the album, introduces us to the energy we feel all over this album. Explosive drum rolls over the strained guitars, the pulsating grit you have in the background. And this is all surprisingly met with the wail of a saxophone, and what I think might be a bit of a distorted organ synth sound. I'm not exactly sure. Stop me if I'm wrong. It's this fusion of genres highlighting the divide we see in the world. Rather than sounding conflicting, they meld together harmoniously, something we're missing. In the latter half of the song, you get this mix of emotion, those drums and the swirling guitar, and then you have Harry's vocals in the middle, frustrated and glued together by this hectic saxophone, all coming together for a really exciting opener. If you're not excited by now, you should be. Following this to Look Down on Us, a 9-minute long track. It's nice to hear the vocals being switched up a bit, getting a bit theatrical, accentuated rolls, but what they talk about are some hard truths. At times the lyrics can be poetic and vivid, but also at the same time brutally honest. There's genocide abundant, we all just turned away. When it's money over mind, there'll never be a truce. Moving on to the track Searcher, I think that's how it's pronounced. Again, sorry, an Irish name meaning freedom, I believe, playing us in beautifully with that saxophone, accompanied with some gentle guitar strums, but this time we're introduced to some really nice strings. Again, vocally, we hear something new, weirdly sounding a bit poppy, kind of like The Fray, weirdly. Either way, the vibe of this track really contrasts how the album started off. Everything behind the vocals feels like they're competing for this space. You think this might sound hard to listen to, but it actually works brilliantly. I love what they did here. It's a chaotic unison, frustrating yet sad. Midway through the album already with Born to Die. No, not that version. Surprisingly, it's mixed up again with a bit of spoken word. Feeling a little bit romantic with that saxophone this time. We really get to see what Harry's vocals can do here with a bit of glam rock wailing, singing those lyrics, Born to Die. It's all quite theatrical, I'm starting to find. It isn't until about 6 minutes in where I start to get really invested in the song, with those heavy, almost metal guitars, and the chaos starts to get a bit more melodic, proper head-banging rhythms, with what sounds like some kind of heavy 80s rock. It's all very bizarre, but kind of incredible. Once this is over though, we head back to familiar territory with Break the Tension, having a bit more of a chaotic, punkier vibe to it, matching lyrics about how people's hate and anger is misled through media and the news. The combination of sounds is feeling quite familiar at this point, but there is still enough to keep you locked in and engaged. I really love these high-pitched wails that accompany the sort of distorted vocals in the last half of the track, and this then sits alongside drill-like percussions and sounds. Overall, actually, throughout the album, the mix is really good. Even though there's lots of busy moments, nothing feels muddy. Everything is given its proper moment to shine and create its own tension. Just after I thought we'd heard everything from them, we get a bit of rap and hip hop in the song Trenches, mixed alongside the saxophone and kind of industrial sounds. It feels like it shouldn't work, but it just really does, and it sounds great. This makes for such an interesting mashup. The last few tracks on the album now, starting with Zaytoun, I think it's pronounced, which I think means olive tree in Arabic. A somewhat dreamy and atmospheric number, which does give you a bit of break from the heaviness, but the energy is still there, hiding underneath. It's also a little bit therapeutic, especially with those haunting vocal wails. Ambient sounds from left to right, being soaked in various timbres. Yeah, it's a nice track. This then prepares you for the next track, starting out somewhat slower as well. Reconcile, a 9-minute long track taking you on a bit of a journey. At the start you have a bit of a disconnected guitar that's sort of panned all the way to the right, that slowly sort of whispers in your ear with these chords. Then the rhythm changes midway, getting a bit faster, that saxophone really working overtime at this point. I do find the vocals to be slightly drowned out here in this song. I can hear them, but I really have to kind of focus. But the song winds up into a cluster of explosive sound, and whilst everything's fighting for sound, there's an unmistakable melody in the middle, and Harry's vocals singing Pray for Love. It's almost like a glimmer of hope in all the madness, and this all falls out except for the sound of a synth and a delay, and this then slowly fades into nothing. I hate fades. I really hate fade outs in songs. For a debut album, it's brilliant. It captures the chaos, frustration, and the raw emotion of the world right now, and somehow makes it feel overwhelming yet exhilarating. You know, from this explosive saxophone, vocals, to rap, ambient textures, and everything in between. It's like they managed to meld 100 ideas together and make it work. It feels coherent without ever losing its edge. It challenges your ears and thankfully refuses to play it safe. Yeah, I really enjoyed this album. So with all of that, I think I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching and joining me. I hope you enjoyed the review. Let me know what you thought of the album below. And yeah, please feel free to like, subscribe, whatever. And love to see you on the next one.